Hello, I'm Kenny from Owlbot here today to talk about a fantastic camera. It's got global shutter, optical image stabilization. The kit lens opens to a 1.6. It's actually got a zoom that goes from 8 millimeters all the way to 86 millimeters. Built-in NDs, XLRs, two of them, as well as a mic in. It's ergonomically designed. It's got a top handle, built for the shoulder. It's actually CCD instead of CMOS, which is why we have the global shutter, but also means you have three multicolor chips for more accurate color right out of the camera. I don't know if it's obvious what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the Canon XL2, a camera from 2004, and I'm shooting on it right now because I had seen a handful of videos of people trying to make their VX1000s tapeless. If you don't know, the VX1000 is an old DV cam that is still popular in the skateboarding world. And being DV, you can't find the tapes really that much anymore, so people are trying to find ways to go tapeless. And the main way so far is to use that I've seen is to use these FPV goggle recorders, and you take the RCA out into that little thing, and you can kind of tape it to the top of the camera. And that seems to work pretty well. So I thought about it, and I was like, well, maybe I could do that with the XL2, which I've had since it came out. And you can, except I'm using S-Video instead of RCA, because S-Video actually separates the color and the video signal, color and gamma signal, so you get a more faithful reproduction on output. I don't know if using a mini DV tape would look better, but it does look pretty good, I would say. I'm running it into the Odyssey 7Q Plus, which is one of the weirdest, new technology meets old technology things. The old way of doing things was to use this, the Firestore FS4, and this would use FireWire, and there's a FireWire port on the back of the XL2, and it's not a locking port, and it's about this big, and which makes this having a belt clip kind of funny, because having this on your hip and moving it all would joggle the thing out. Joggle? So it wasn't the best. It was okay on a tripod, but this is a 60 gigabyte spinning drive, and so it wasn't my favorite device, but it was a cool thing back in the day. Technically, the camera doesn't have built-in NDs, but it does have. This is the kit lens, the 20X. This is a 5.4 to 108 millimeter lens. It is a Canon L series lens, hence the red line. It has an optical image stabilizer, and two built-in NDs, 1/6 and 1/32. I don't know what that means. I think it means 2 stops, 2.5 stops, and 5 stops. Couldn't tell you. Autofocus, stabilizer, like I said. And it's a very good lens. Right now I'm using the manual, the 16X manual. And once again, this goes from a 1.6 to a 3.5. That is a 1.6 throughout the zoom. Insane. You can't get that these days. This also, they're all Parfocal. And they don't move when you zoom. So you can slap a matte box on there and it stays, and whatever. The reason I'm saying all this is because I pulled the XL2 out of storage and I realized, besides the sensor, I mean, this is still a standard def signal, so it's not really going to work these days, but besides the sensor size, which is a 1/3 sensor, the iPhone is like 1/2 inch. The XL2 is still a great camera. I almost wish they would just put a full frame sensor in the XL2 and call it a day. Now, there are some downsides. There's no ISO function, it's just gain. The white balance choices are daylight, tungsten, or custom, where you hold a sheet of paper or gray card or whatever, and it white balances to that, but it can only do a custom white balance at a number between 3200 and 5600, so not perfect. But one thing I'm noticing is that with the custom picture profile that I've made for this camera, you actually do get a strong enough image to gently push around in post, very gently, and you can get colors that are better than you would expect. I think the signal coming out of the S-Video is standard DV. No, it doesn't make any sense. In any case, I think the camera's a 411 8-bit signal. I don't know if DV is 8-bit or 10-bit. Someone would have to correct me. But yeah, I just thought it would be fun to make this short little video and talk about the Canon XL2 because by all accounts it's sick. You know, standard def's a no. Global shutter. It's global shutter. We should bring CCDs back. It does make for a bigger camera, but the XL2 is very light, and like I said, ergonomic. It's built for the shoulder. It's got the handle right by the lens. You got the zoom. You got your record. I shot so much stuff in high school with this camera, and I loved it. I'm honestly just shooting this for the experience. You know what? I'll leave it to you, the viewer, if you'd like a more in-depth review and comparison of the Canon XL2 to modern cameras. I'd be happy to do that. I think one thing I would like to point out is modern cameras have almost regressed. Like I said, the lenses go to a 1.6. That's kind of cheeky because they're built for sensor that big. It's mirrorless. The XL2 is a mirrorless camera. 2004. Just saying. Interchangeable lenses. You could 3D print a mount for any lens to put on the XL2. Granted, you kind of need a wide. I think I'm at a 12 here, and it gives me the same field of view that I normally get at about a 35 on my C500 Mark II. So, you know, you would need a wide angle lens, but Canon even made a XL mount to EF mount adapter, electronic adapter, so you could use any of your EOS lenses on it in 2004. So it was very much ahead of its time. Obviously, famously, they shot 28 days later on the XL1S, and that wasn't as good of a camera as this camera. This has the true 24p, and the sensors are actually widescreen. If you shoot 4:3 on this camera, you're losing resolution. This is 960 by 480 as it records. Well, technically right now it's 1080p, but that's just because of the adapter. But out of the camera, it's a 960 by 480 signal. I did see somewhere back in the day, somebody was able to get in there and intercept the digital signal before it hit the analog converter. So that's how we get the S-video signal, is there's a digital to analog converter. And someone was able to go in there and solder in some wires, do some magic science stuff, and intercept the digital signal. And I'm wondering if that person still exists, because it would be fascinating to see what the image looks like before it hits the DV encoder. You know, maybe this look isn't because of the sensor. Maybe it looks better before it hits the analog converter. I don't know. I'm speaking retrospectively, without really remembering. But yeah, I think that's long enough. 10 minutes of this nonsense. I was just excited to pull the XL2 out of storage and kind of play around with it and see how it holds up. And honestly, it seems to hold up just fine. You are stuck with a 709 signal. There's no log or anything like that. I have kind of lowered that. You have the custom picture profile in the thing. It's not too granular, but you are able to adjust the image. So I was able to make it look more the way I wanted, and I think it looks pretty good. I will say, back in the day, you know, we only had 5 or 6 stops of latitude to play with before you had full blowout or blacks, but the shadows aren't even noisy. You know, that seems to be a new thing. I will say, just for your edification, I've exposed my skin at around 50%. Any more felt very digital. So you kind of even have less room to play with the XL2, but I would challenge anyone to pick up you can get an XL2 for $250 on eBay, a full kit, this lens, the whole thing. And if you have a way to record, or if you really want to deal with tapes and log and capture, which was a pain in the dick back in the day, I would challenge you to make a movie with it, because people are always like, what can I buy for $1,000 to start filming? It's like, well, if you just want to run around town and make YouTube videos that look pretty, all right, fine. But if you have a story to tell, really, the XL2 would get you there fast as hell. And now it's a look, right? We're about 20 years, a 17-year-old camera. We're almost 20 years into the the nostalgia circle. So now this is like a look. You know, people are trying to make their shit look like film. Why not DV? But yeah, it's got everything you need. It's got sound. It's got exposure monitoring. Zebras that only go down to 80. But you've got all the tools that you need in one camera to make a independent sort of solo film with your friends that shooting on a DSLR or an iPhone or whatever wouldn't give you. You'd have to get extra audio stuff. You'd have monitors, whatever. So that's my challenge. I would do it, except I'm at the point where I don't think a client would enjoy that very much. But maybe I can find a friend who's got a good story to tell that we can kind of goof off. Maybe like a horror short shot on DV. That could be cool. People like horror shorts, and that kind of would fit the vibe. But going back to the idea of the 28 days later thing. Yeah. Anyway, that's my sort of mini rant on the XL2. I hope that was enjoyable for you. And yeah, if you don't know, Frame and Reference, the podcast, is always uploaded to this channel every Thursday. It would really be great if you could subscribe to it on your favorite podcasting app. I interview tons of cinematographers from everywhere. I mean, Josh Richards, Nomadland. This week, when this goes up, Tim Ives from Stranger Things and Halston. I interviewed Jeffrey Jur from Bridgerton, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I mean, just Netflix loves throwing these guys at me, so that's been a lot of fun. Jenna Rocher, she shot the Billie Eilish documentary. Just great people to talk to, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll cap this video off by saying, subscribe to Frame and Reference, and I will see you, or you will see me. Someone will be seen somewhere next time.